Hey everyone, welcome to DirectConnect here at Archer. We're going to start off another episode today and talk about some really cool things, focused on some TSA, a little bit of DHS, and see where that goes. My name's Stacy Bresler. I'm a managing partner here at Archer. I got a couple of my friends here in the studio, or in their own studio. I got Nick Weber, always a wonderful man to have talk about DHS stuff since he used to work there. Then we also have Steve Parker. Again, he's heavily involved in the TSA stuff, so we thought having him back on today would be a great idea, and we can hear what insight he can provide to us. So with that, welcome to DirectConnect.
Good to be here, Stacy, and thank you for the kind use of the word friend. So I'll take that literally.
Just for a little while, right? We'll see what you say.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Yeah. This has been quite a couple weeks. Last 2-3 weeks. A lot going on in the oil and gas world. Lots going on in DHS. But what's up with TSA, Steve? I swear the utilities are about to explode, aren't they?
I think they are. Obviously, a lot of this stuff's happening behind the scenes, and I've got people I've known in the industry that I talk to from time to time, and I've been able to do a little bit of work with some clients. Just got a call yesterday actually from a contact that I have at a utility want to talk about some TSA stuff that had recently happened. So definitely popping, and I think the utilities, the electric gas combo utilities are no stranger to regulation and enforcement. So I don't think they're going to be overly shocked or surprised at what comes their way. But those entities
not surprised, but they might be surprised with that letter coming out, though, right?
They could. Well, yeah. Apparently, TSA has decided they actually want to, reach out and touch someone, and figuratively speaking, of course. But they got to go out and start racking up some frequent flyer miles and get some hotel points, and they're going to visit utilities, and they want to see evidence apparently.
Well, that's quite that's pretty fast though. You think about it, right? It's coming from an event that happened. Well, that's been just about a year, maybe a little over a year. I can't remember exactly, but the Colonial Pipeline issue happening, and then we get into some TSA directives that come pretty quickly after that, and now we're already at visits. That's fast.
It's moving quick now. Remember, they're operating under emergency authority in this one, so they didn't have to go through a rulemaking process. They didn't have to work with a third-party industry organization like FERC did with NERC to set up the standards. And they'll probably eventually get into that mode, but this was done under emergency authority that they had already by statute, so they were able to move fairly quickly. And I think there's a sense of urgency, obviously, because we had the actual pipeline incident here in the U.S. The geopolitical situation is not helping it with things that are happening in Eastern Europe right now, raising concerns, obviously, about the potential for that to spill over. And the other aspect of this is there's a bit of a, I don't know if I want to use the word turf war. We'll call it a turf war, I guess. But FERC has expressed interest in having regulatory authority over the pipelines. If TSA doesn't want to lose the authority they have, I think it's in their interest to move quickly. Put a stake in the ground, plant their flag, so to speak. That came up, was talking with one of our other colleagues, and he's, figuratively speaking, going out and doing site visits. They get to plant their flag at these entities and say, hey, we've got this, and makes it harder for someone like FERC to come along and say, we should be doing that.
How does that work in DC? Nick, you've lived that world a little bit. Those turf wars, how do those go down?
500-pound gorillas fighting over a banana. But I think DHS, whether it's TSA or CISA or someone else in that realm, I think already has a pretty good foothold. When you look at oil and gas, whether it's CFATs, a lot of these sit on waterways, so the Coast Guard gets involved, the MTSA. I think while FERC may say it's energy, I think DHS has got a pretty good leg to stand on by saying, no, we already cover this. There's also the point that I could see them pointing back and going, and we got to where you are, almost 15 years into the process in under a year. So It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
That's a big thing. I tell you, if I was someone sitting in Congress, I was really paying attention, I would go, yeah, FERC, I don't think so. I think TSA is moving a lot faster and probably achieving the goals quicker. Painful probably for the utility, though. I feel for them being hit on both sides, especially those combo utilities.
To that point, Stacy, I don't know, have the utilities moved that fast? I mean, you say TSA's moving quick, and that may be true, but has the industry come along? That's the real question, and not does TSA have the regulations. Can the industry meet them? We don't know that yet.
That's the next problem, right?
Well, I guess the other piece I would ask from the utility side, is it really more painful to go faster but have clearer direction? I mean, we've been through what on some of these standards, version 8, in the NERC SIP standards. It's like, I know that's the common thing we hear and working through is just tell us what you want us to do and make up your mind. For better or worse, the federal ones tend to do that a little better.
Nick. That's a little different than when the NERC SIP standards first came out and the reliability. It was like, don't tell us what to do. We have this, so the messages are always different. Utilities are going to try to protect themselves the best they can. Totally understand that. I know I personally would rather have somebody come and tell me exactly as clear as possible what they expect, and then I know what's on the table, and then we can fight about timelines. And I don't even know, is that even an option with utilities? Are they going to get fined now for not meeting a date?
That's a legal question. I'll pass that off to the lawyer. I don't know. I don't know. I would suspect not. The timelines were pretty aggressive, so I can't imagine that they would go straight to a fine. They're going to obviously want to see progress. They want to see that things are happening and it's being taken seriously, and so they certainly going to have the ability to come down with some sort of sanction or legal process. But I wouldn't expect them to go that route initially, unless an entity is just truly being a bad actor and not performing in good faith.
Yeah, I think progress is the most important thing. So that'll be interesting to see. But honestly, I think the way they're moving, there's going to be a significant amount of progress forward that's going to be expected, more so than it has for the electric side of the sector. It just seems like to me the way they're going about this is going to end up resulting in getting further down the line. But of course, they have some leverage too of what they've done in the SIP world.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I mean, I said they're likely going to have to go to rulemaking because they can't operate under emergency authority forever. At least I presume they can. It's the federal government. You never know. But presumably they're going to want to go to something more formal and more sustainable. So that rulemaking process will be probably a couple of years. And there'll be obviously a lot of input from all the stakeholders, and we'll see where we end up. But what's clear, you're right, it's going to be a bumpy road, right? We know where we're going. There's going to be a permanent, significant cybersecurity regulation on the pipelines. We have a rough idea of what it's going to look like. We don't know the details. They're going to change. It'll get worked out.
One thing that I was thinking about in regards to TSA is maybe the rule making's a little different than how the FERC does it. I don't know if that's a different process. Is CFATs go through a rulemaking process, or is that more dictation?
I'm not sure. That one was when I was at DHS. That actually was part of some pretty big changeover or turnover at DHS. It was such a mess. So I don't want to say for sure, but I believe it was fairly well dictated. But it did kind of go through a cyclical process of let's start at a high level, light touch, and then slowly ramp it up. I'm not sure. I don't know that DHS will try to replicate that model in any one of its agencies.
So Steve, how would rulemaking happen in the TSA world? I know in the SIP world we have FERC, so it's kind of a ERO relationship, and they manage the utility community, and then FERC goes and does their decision making based on that such input. Is that something similar that TSA has? Would that be part of building out this rulemaking process?
Well, I mean, the federal rulemaking process is similar across all agencies. We've seen it. We just had the issue with OSHA trying to do the vaccine mandate for employers. That came through a rulemaking process, right? They propose it, they put it in the Federal Register. There's opportunity for comment, opportunity for lawsuits, as we saw there. So they'd have to go through something similar The exact process of how they go about it obviously could vary. FERC is different and probably unique and possibly unique in the government space in that they don't get to write the rules. They rely on NERC to write the rules, and then they go and oversee it and approve it. TSA, at least currently, is not in that space. Obviously, there's the legislation pushing for the EPRO, right, the Energy Products Reliability Organization, which would be a NERC-like model or ERO-like model. But absent that, they get to write their rules, right? So they could just write the rule they want, throw it out there as a notice of proposed rulemaking or some similar terminology, get comments, and then do what they want, right? And then industry obviously gets say through the commenting process, but they wouldn't have the ability to influence it the way NERC does. They could always go to court, right? You always have legal challenges, but a little harder right. to do in this case.
Yeah, it's going to be. I might be weird, but this kind of stuff excites me, right? It's probably not exciting for utilities, but for me, it's exciting.
That's what I tell everybody, that I work with or talk to in any way, shape, or form. If they're at an entity, I'm like, this is kind of fun and interesting for me because I'm not the one that's under the gun. I don't have to write the checks. I don't have to pay the fines. I'm not going to jail. So yeah, it's but when you're on the receiving end of it, it's a whole different story, whole different ballgame.
Exactly, and I can totally appreciate that. But the process is, and that's kind of where I kind of live, is I love process and I love understanding how this goes about. And we're never going to be without any cybersecurity regulation. So it gets into the environment, they ain't going to pull it back, right? So here it is. But that part of it, that just is, just super exciting to see how it matures and how, we all can have a positive impact on what the goals are. Us as consultants, we have opportunities. Utilities have opportunities. There's all kinds of stakeholders involved in here, and hopefully we're all pushing, towards the right goal. And that's difficult to find, right? Because sometimes I wonder if it's got a political edge to it sometimes that may not be matched to reality. And so anyway, pretty cool stuff with the TSA things. Anything else exciting going on there? Or?
No, and it's new. You and I, we've been in the compliance space for many years, and it's kind of like when you're listening to your favorite band, you got them looping on Spotify, and then they release a new album. You're like, hey, fresh music,
One of the things, Stacy, looping back to your question about where it lands, I would not be surprised at all if there's some intermediate steps along the way. One of the things that we're seeing now is other sectors kind of starting to get pulled in as well. So it could go to FERC for a year or two or three, and then this administration or new administration decides we need consolidated critical infrastructure cyber standards, and it goes to CISA or some agency that doesn't even exist now. So I think expect a lot of fluidity in where it goes and who controls things.
Would the ERO potentially go away? Bye NERC.
I would say that's probably on the table. I know there are some of the bigger 500-pound, the 600-pound gorillas within the executive branch that would love to see that, just because they have other competing interests. Most of the defense sector would love to see uninterruptible power that they don't have to pay extra for.
Yeah, and it could just be the cyber side, right? The security side of NERC, right? The reliability side of NERC probably would not go away, but the cyber and physical security could potentially move out. Potentially.
We've been talking about that for a long time, though. Remember the thing that was floating around several years ago was the ESA that would come out. Mm-hmm. The Energy Security Administration. I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition, but those talks have happened before, and maybe that's something that could happen in the future. Like you said, we got to expect it to be fluid for a while, and everyone is probably, like you said, positioning themselves, and that's another tough part for us all to watch. The utility trying to be compliant with something, trying to follow the bouncing ball, it's going to hurt a little bit.
Well, I think that might also be part of what drives towards that consolidated regulator. Mm-hmm. If you're a mixed fuel utility right now, you may be dealing with TSA, obviously OSHA, NERC, FERC, you're dealing with multiple sides of FERC if you have hydros. And you have dam safety, and then you have the reliability side. Seeing some of that come under one umbrella, that could be a welcome thing for a lot of utilities.
Yeah, to your point, Stacy, and not to get too preachy, but when you're dealing with the uncertainty, having some vision towards the future and not being tunnel visioned on today's compliance obligation, but looking more holistically and broadly at what good security is, it's going to set you up for whatever may come.
Well, that's a good segue, Steve, into some of the things I've heard in the, these TSA directives. It seems like there's a push from industry to go towards standards they kind of had written before. We got AGA, and you got some in other groups that they kind of are pointing to when, maybe they should be thinking more about NIST, because that's been pretty well adopted in overall, that the cybersecurity framework out there is pretty universal, and each sector is supposed to be mapping certain things to that. So it seems like that might be the better way of going versus trying to find, this magical compliance wand that makes you perfectly compliant. You find the common grounds.
Yeah, and I would hope that I don't think you want the government to say, go do NIST, right? You don't want them pointing to external documents as mandatory, but you want them to, whatever they put out, it should be consistent with the frameworks that you're already using, so that you're not recreating the wheel. You can fit it into your existing program nicely and cleanly. So mapping it, they could take, the NIST 853 controls. There's over 1,200 controls and control enhancements there. You don't want any government agency to drop 1,200 requirements on you, but they could go through that and they could say, hey, here's a minimum baseline that everyone should be doing, and you're probably already doing it, but now you have to do it with consistency, and you need to be able to provide evidence that it's being done.
That's the challenge for anyone, right? Is to prove what you're doing. That's the burden, the tax that comes with regulation.
That just reminds me of the old adage I'd hear whenever I was lurking around the old SIPC meetings with NERC, that your good security is probably going to make you compliant, but good compliance doesn't impact your security.
Oh, that's absolutely true. Well, sounds like we got lots of future TSA challenges for the industry that we'll learn more about, and we'll probably talk about that forever on this forum. We'll have many different discussions. Hopefully we can bring in some people in here that know something more direct, some guests maybe in the future. We'll see where we go with that. But I was thinking that, we were talking about TSA doing their stuff, but DHS got stuff going on too in the cybersecurity world. And recently just had a report that comes out that doesn't really say much to me. I kind of read through it and I'm like, I don't understand what they're trying to say here. Nick, what do you think about that?
And that I had PTSD flashbacks from when I worked in Crystal City of DHS, the Intel and Analysis Group, showing up thinking they were delivering some groundbreaking news. They would classify it, walk in and give a presentation to a bunch of electric sector leaders who would all go, yeah, and I've seen this before, or okay, so what? Like the drone one in particular that was pointed out, that's been kind of circulated around a little bit. I looked at that and went, okay, there's maybe somebody thinks they're trying to do something, but this, to me, that's something I would expect maybe a teenage kid trying to cause problems. That doesn't tell me that there's a consolidated effort. Taking a busted drone and running a conductor under it, that doesn't necessarily pique my interest or concerns. Also because it's amateur hour. That's the piece that most of the INA analysts, they want to do great work. I was very fortunate that Nick Kwan, the one I worked with the most, was phenomenal. I believe he actually went off in the private sector now, and last I heard he was going to be a trader or something on Wall Street. But he actually took the time to go and learn the industry. What keeps people up? What are the so what factors? What could somebody actually do to a substation? He and I went out. We actually had we did a work group meeting out at Pacific Northwest National Labs and spent an extra day going through some of their test beds. Went over to the Volpin Test Hammer facility, and Nick got a chance to really see, okay, this is what all of this really looks like in real life, not just looking at satellite imagery or trying to read something. Actually went and looked at the equipment and said, oh, okay, I can take a 22 long rifle and shoot at a transformer all day long, and I'm just going to annoy it. I'll chip the paint. Once he had that realization, then his products went through the roof. And that's something that it's across the Intel agency. Aside from DIA, they're the only ones I know that really take their analysts who, frankly, most of them, it's their first or second job out of college. It's kind of the front end of Jack Ryan, not the back end of almost President Jack Ryan you get. But they would take them and run them through 3 separate 1-week courses of critical infrastructure awareness. You'd go out. I got to sit in on those when I was at DHS. They had a former Navy nuke retiree who then worked at the utility out there that put on the class for them and say, okay, here's a substation. Here's distribution. Here's transmission. Here's what that looks like on a satellite image. Here's a dam. Here's a coal plant. Here's a nuke plant. To really kind of put that ground truth in it for their analysts. And
That's
unfortunately,
cool.
that's one of those things when you cut budgets, that's one of the first things to go because you can't put a direct ROI on it. But then you get products like this that I would imagine every utility that has any sort of physical security or intel group looked at that and went, this is a waste.
Yeah, what was the name of that report again? I know people might not know what we're talking about here.
So it came out of the DHS Intel and Analysis. I believe it might have been an NTAS report, National Terrorism Advisory System. The value I think to it is that it's a consolidation that as a security professional you can take that consolidation down to your CFO, COO, et cetera, and say, look, here's what we're concerned about. As far as breaking news though, not there.
That was my takeaway reading through it. I just felt, this just doesn't have a lot to go. It felt like a checkbox report, like somebody was assigned this and we got to get it out the door. It didn't have the quality that I would have expected from analysts. And hopefully I don't have DHS knocking on my door because saying that. So if anybody's saying that, I'm saying that out of respect, and creative criticism, let's look at that. But yeah, it wasn't the best report I've ever seen. And
the other piece to keep in mind with these is this may be the tear-lined version. Folks who have a secret or top secret clearance may have gotten more info. I haven't at this point, but that's also one of the challenges going back to the entire information sharing. Writing things above the tear line that are so vanilla that you can't do anything with it. That was the thing I got beat up second most about when I was at DHS. The most was having the clearance program frozen for 1.5 years over some administrivia, but that was the other piece, was tell me something that I can take back and implement.
Yeah, I remember being in a number of different, super secret conversations and getting in there and realizing I know more than they were telling anyone based on just public information. So, yeah, that's a good, story for everyone out there listening. Don't expect that your top secret information is going to give you any more than you already know. You probably have more information readily available through things that we put out, our videos or any of the things that you read on the internet. You're going to find enough information to give you the fodder you need to back up the message you need to tell your organization.
I know when I was at the utility, I loved, and Steve's not paying me to say this, I promise. I loved the EnergySec email that would come out at the end of each week. Here's all the things you may have missed, but also here's why you should care. The so what factor, and that's what's missing from a lot of these intel reports that come out from DHS and others. And frankly, it's because they don't really know what the utilities need to know. And I know there's been programs over the years to try to fix that.
Know either.
That's the other part is I know it when I'll see it. It's kind of like the old what's a catch in the NFL? Well, I'm not sure, but I'll tell you when I see it.
Yeah, above the tier line though, the challenge there too is that you can't do anything with it. So even if you got something that was like really, really hot information, like wow, you can't go back to your organization and tell everybody, hey, we need to do this because of this. So that's always been another one of the I guess criticisms in a sense, that even if you get something, you can't do anything with it because you can't act on that information without revealing the information. And so that's a challenge. So the classification issues, where should it be? And unfortunately, from a practical matter, we don't have anything between public and secret. Right? Anything that comes out that isn't at the secret level, it generally tends to get leaked anyways. And so if it's things that they really care about, it's very difficult to share things with industry and not have them leak out somewhere.
Well, what did Bruce Schneier used to say? There's no security in obscurity. So, hiding that information really isn't helping anybody. I mean, it's not making you more secure or less secure. There probably are some state sponsor information that they might want not to.
The
bring out
sources and
there, but-
methods,
Yeah.
you know, or we
those
don't want
kind
them
of
to know
things.
that we know, sort of thing.
Yep.
There's that, but
Yeah, another one that was, well, there's the FOUO no foreign, which the FBI was pretty good about using to get decent information out. Although I remember once when we had to ask Mark Fabro to leave the room after he told them something so they could tell us what he told them. That was an interesting one. And that was one where everybody just chuckled and everybody knew what the score was, but it was just, that's some of the things you got to work through. One of the other challenges we always ran into.
it's a one-way door. It's a
Yeah.
one-way door. Once it goes into the classified side, then it changes it.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges we ran into with the clearance program, is trying to get people cleared who were at a level of trust in their organization that they could implement change without telling people above them why, but also at a low enough level they were going to be involved in getting that information. We'd always get a CEO and say, okay, well, we need you to use it at least once a year, otherwise we got to void your clearance out. And they, oh yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then you wouldn't see them for 3 years, and they'd be upset that it was voided out. But on the flip side, they'd send an analyst who would then get the information, take it back to organization, and couldn't move forward with it. So that's always been a delicate balance, and it's a level of trust you don't necessarily have anywhere else in your business, but you've got to have it to make this stuff make this actionable information.
Well, I have this feeling that utilities are going to have a lot of action on their hands. Lots of changes happening in the NERC world. We've got a lot of changes going on with TSA being brand new. We've got DHS coming out with cybersecurity stuff. It is busy, and it's just going to get more busy. With ever-changing, cybersecurity threats, threat actors out there, you're never going to be done. This is a process, and security doesn't end. There's not an end. You can't type in Google and say, where's the end of security, and find it. So I think that's kind of the message of the day. We're, keep your eyes on the wheel or on the road and hands on the wheel, and get ready for a really fun ride, and, take deep breaths, because this can be really stressful. And, if you have anybody out there looking for somebody to cry on their shoulder, you can always call us. We won't charge you for that. But we're also available to help you. We do quite a bit of work out there in the industry. We have a good eye on what's going on and how to get through some of this, especially how to talk to regulators and how to respond to them. And that's sometimes 90% of the battle. So if you're watching this video and you want to connect with us, please give us a ring. We got all kinds of information at archerint.com. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up, guys. Thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. And
Been a pleasure.
We'll, do another Direct Connect here soon.
Stay up to date on all the videos we release here at Archer by clicking on the subscribe button. Click on the bell to be notified right away when we release new videos. If you know of a topic or someone you think we should talk to on Direct Connect, please let us know in the comments below.